We we are live. Hello, so welcome. My name is Matt Smith.
I'm Andy Wilson.
And we are Affluent Rebel. And today in this hangout, what we're going to talk about is nutrition, the basics of it. We're going to simplify it, take out all the confusion surrounding nutrition so that you, the viewer, knows what to do when it comes to achieving any goal regarding your body. So whether that be strip fat, whether that be build muscle, whether that just bulk up in the off season, whether that get stage ready or look good for a beach or just a night out, okay, or a celebration event. So we're going to break a few myths as well surrounding nutrition, but by the end of it, you'll come away knowing exactly what you need to do, what you need to eat, and when to get into the shape that you want to get into. Is that right, Andy?
Exactly. And I think that's where people, even myself have got very confused in the past. You read a lot and you try and get an understanding of it all, but it's so easy to learn too much and try and get too deep into it and try and take to a professional level too early, when sometimes it's just being basics, just being, consistent. I think that's a good word that I think people need to get understanding of. Just being consistent with your diet and consistent with your exercise. I think with consistency, you see results pretty quickly.
Oh, mate, yeah, I totally agree. There's a great book out there. I forget the author. I think it's Ed Hardy. No, it's not Ed Hardy. Darren Hardy, called The Compound Effect, and it basically says that. So the compound effect is, if people haven't read it, is, let me just quickly draw a little diagram here. So the compound effect basically states that if you start here and if you do the same thing every single day over a period of time, you'll end up with exactly the same results on there. Okay, so let's break this up into 3, 6, and 12 months through there. Okay, so you can see that my artistic drawing. So what you can see within 3 months is, if you do the same thing, it stays the same. But if you just change one thing for the better, you start to see slightly different results. But if you change one thing for the worse, so if we're talking about nutrition, let's just say here you're eating okay, you've got a balanced diet, but then all of a sudden you start putting in a takeaway meal every night. Okay, so after 3 months, you probably won't see, you'll see a bit of difference. You might be more tired, you might start developing spots and a bit more fat, but not much difference. But after 12 months, you see a massive difference just by being consistent. And again, we go the other way. So again, if you're eating a balanced diet, but then all of a sudden you maybe drop out some of the stuff that's stopping you getting great results, and you increase the stuff which we're going to talk about in a minute that's going to get you better results. Over 3 months, again, you don't see too much difference. And again, this is where most people drop off after about 60 to 90 days of trying something. They drop off because they don't see too much difference in their results.
Too impatient,
Yeah, that's it. We're too impatient. But if you continue for, let's say, 12 months, look at the difference here in terms of where you could be where you would be if you stayed the same to where you could be. So yeah, consistency, mate. I definitely agree with that. So let's jump into, because macros and micros is, you hear that word all over the internet. You got to hit your macros. You got to get your macros right. Just give the audience and the people watching, Andy, a breakdown of what macronutrients are.
Well, basically, you're just looking at your protein intake, your carbohydrate intake, and then your fats, and basically looking at the different split between how many proteins, how many carbs, and how many fats you'd have on a daily basis per meal. And basically, that's where you've got to have an understanding of what your body needs in terms of the goals that you have. I'm looking to try and increase my weight, increase my size through the winter, and because of that, I need to increase my macronutrients on a daily and a weekly basis on what I am now. Because if I stay on a consistent as to what I am now, I'm never going to see that increase. And I think that's where a lot of guys similar to me go wrong, is they start to want to bulk, as they say. They want to increase their muscle, increase their size, and they start lifting more often. They start lifting better. They start increasing the weight that they lift, and they are seeing some gains in the gym, but they don't actually pass across to their gains in their actual physical body, because they don't understand that they need to make that change in their diets to tally along with the actual goals that they've got. If I want to look like a 16-stone bodybuilder, I need to eat like a 16-stone bodybuilder, and that's, I think, where I've definitely gone wrong in the past myself.
Oh yeah, mate, I definitely agree with that, and that's what I tell a lot of my clients to do is, whatever goal you've got, eat like that person would eat. Okay, so yeah, you want to train like them as well, but you've got to eat like that person, and success leaves clues. And that's the same for people in business. If you want to be successful in business, you've got to follow something. The same for relationships, but yeah, definitely the same with your body. So in terms of macronutrients, and you said it absolutely perfectly there, the difference between your protein, your carbs, and your fats. What would you say would be a general guideline for anybody out there watching in terms of let's break it down. So let's go protein to start with. Okay. Now we might have different opinions on this. We might have read different things, and that's cool. So we can throw our own things into the mix here. But what would you say would be a good number to aim for in terms of protein for anybody doing anything with any goal? Okay, so is there a standard number, or what?
I don't think there is a standard number. I think you've got to look at the weight that you're at the moment, the size that you're at, the height you're at. And I think you've got to get a sort of basic understanding of where you are there. And what would you say would be your sort of protein for, let's say, someone of our size, 5'8", 5'9", 80 kilograms? Probably.
Yeah, we're about that, and I definitely think you're right, and I'm going to agree with you. There isn't a set number, so you shouldn't be having 30 grams of protein or 60 grams or 90 grams of protein or 180 grams of protein. I think all we can really do is look at what the science says, but also look at the results that people are getting, because there's some people that say, oh, you need three grams of protein per kilo of body fat. For me, for kilo of body weight, for me, that's far too much. So us at 80 kilos, we have 240 grams of protein. That's far too much. Plus my bank balance wouldn't like it too much either.
No, and that's where I think again people get stuck, isn't it? They get overawed by the size of it, and they think, hold on, that's 5 servings of chicken, steak, turkey meat a day. You know, right? That's 20 pounds of food a day, and straight away it's off-putting for them, because they read it and they go, well, I want to achieve that. And then they realise that what they want to achieve, there's a barrier there for the standard person that wants to hit those numbers and goes, hold on, that's £1,000 a month in food. Okay, right, I can't do that. And I think then it puts them off. So I think that's definitely something that I've had to overcome in the past as well. Is getting an understanding of my proteins don't all have to be meat sources. They don't all have to be steaks. As much as I'd love to eat more steaks, I've got an understanding that I'm not going to eat 2 or 3 portions of steak a day.
Yeah, that's exactly it, and I totally agree. And where there's a lot of misinformation, or I don't want to say too much about misinformation, but I think where people confuse themselves is they follow people like the people that are in your media in terms of your fitness models, your bodybuilders, and they see people like, I think I saw an interview once with Jay Cutler where he had like 50 eggs a day or something like that, and people are looking at that and go, oh God, that's what it takes, I can't do it. But you got to remember, Jay Cutler is burning a lot more energy, he's a lot bigger, he's a lot heavier than your average guy or even girl out there. Okay, so for me, what I've seen and what I've seen work is if people can get around 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, I think that's a good place to start. So for someone like us, 80 kilos, whether it's male or female, if you can get 80 to 120 grams of protein a day, spread throughout the day, whether that be, like you said, through meat sources, fish, through eggs, nuts and seeds have some protein in, but protein powders as well. I think then it becomes a lot less expensive to start with than £1,000 a month through eating 5 chicken breasts a day. But it's a lot less daunting, because you can start there. You can start with that number, but it's all about trial and error, because just because science says that that's the standard number, everybody's different, and this is where this is where my beliefs kick in terms of everyone is different. There shouldn't be a standard program for everyone. Which is why I'm not going to give out a standard. Here's what you should have: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and your snacks in between. It doesn't work for everybody. So I would say start with 1 to 1.5 grams of protein a day. Do that for 3 or 4 weeks and then see what happens with your muscle. But obviously we've got to bring in the other macros, which is things like carbs and fats. So Andy, kick off with the carbs.
Okay, yeah.
About that?
Carbs is definitely something I was reading up in the last few days in relation to your sort of pre-workout carb intake. We've got guys that are taking carbs during workouts, if they're long workouts, if they're leg workouts, if they're tough workouts, and then you've got after your post workouts, and I think that's something that I've had a bit of trial and error on in terms of my carb intakes. Is I've always read up, you've got to have carbs before you go to the gym. You've got to have something to feed on. And I think that's something where I've gone wrong in the past. So, I've had quite a high intake of carbs an hour before the gym, and I felt quite lethargic, a bit stodgy stomach, sort of. I don't feel that my gym workouts, if I have a high number of carbs before my workouts, are anywhere near as good. And I think that's where you can get stuck there a little bit. I think we all sort of have a basic understanding of carbs is our energy source. We cut our carbs, we cut our volume of energy. And I think that's where people get a bit wrong, because I think they tell each other, they tell their friends, oh, you need to have lots of carbs before you go and have your run, or lots of carbs before this and that, because that's what you're going to need as a source of energy. And I think before your workout, 45 minutes, an hour before, I think you've got to limit how many carbs. I really do feel like you'll limit how many carbs you have. But I think after those workouts, I think your body is really struggling. It needs the intake of food, it needs the protein, and it needs those carbs, especially if you're carrying on functioning for the day. Unless you're literally hopping straight into bed, you need to put carbs back in your body. And I think even if you are, you still need to put carbs back in your body. You agree?
Oh yeah, mate, 100%. And again, you're making a great point, because you're relating it to your personal situation. And again, you have the magazines out there, you've got the bodybuilding sites out there, you've got the YouTube videos, and people sharing their message on there saying, oh, this is how many you're supposed to have. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what he said, she said. This is what my neighbor's cat's uncle said. Oh, my mate said you got to do this. There's a lot of what they call on the net bro science, isn't it? You see that?
Oh yeah.
Bro, you got to do this. My mate said that. And it's just like, no, listen, if like I said, if I said, oh, Andy, I found a study that says you're supposed to have 300 grams of carbs an hour before your workout, and you go and do it, and then you feel like shit through your workout and you want to be sick. It's like, oh yeah, but the science says so, Andy, you've got to do it. It doesn't matter, because it hasn't worked for you. So yeah, a general rule of thumb is listen to and do what works for you. So if people are sat there thinking, well, that doesn't really give me much clarity, what are the numbers I need to hit, and when do I need to hit my carbs? For me, like I work best with carbs just post-workout, and that's it. I don't really need carbohydrates with any other meal. Again, I'm like you, Andy, I'm trying to put on a little bit of size through the winter. So yeah, I'll almost force the carbs into myself. Now, that might sound quite bad, but I'll force carbs through the winter. So, but I won't let it affect my workout. So like you, if I'm no good with carbs before a workout, I won't take carbs before a workout. So yes, they definitely need carbs after a workout. And if people are sat there going, right, Matt, Andy, tell us the numbers. As a rule of thumb, you want a ratio of 2 to 1 in terms of carbohydrates and protein post-workout. So if you're having your 30 grams of protein post-workout in a shake, you need to be aiming for around 60 grams of carbohydrates. And again, if people are sat there thinking, yeah, but what's the total number throughout the day? Again, similar to protein, okay? So depending on what your goals are, you might adjust this, but start with 1.5 to maybe 2 grams of carbs per kilo of body weight. So again, if you're 80 kilos, you can go with 120 up to 160 grams of carbohydrates, and then do that for 3 or 4 weeks and see what happens. If you look like you're laying down a bit more fat, and your goal is to strip that, then cut out a few more carbohydrates and change your numbers through there. Protein, I would kind of keep the same, okay? Unless you're on a major bulk, then I would maybe up your protein a little bit, and especially if you're doing a workout a day, 5-6 days a week. But with your carbs, yeah, in terms of numbers, 1.5 to 2 grams of carbs per day. And again, monitor your results after 3 or 4 weeks, see what happens with your body composition, and then adjust with your carbs accordingly. But yeah, definitely worth putting them into your diet. But again, they're not a major necessity. So
I think I'll just go on one point there that I think that I've learned over my training days is also, we've got we've got guys that don't train 6 days a week. Okay, I train 5, 6 days a week. So mostly a day is a day that I'm going to train. So I'm going to want to put those cars back in my body. But I think there are days where we don't train, where we've got clients who are doing 3 days a week. They might do a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. And I think that's where you can increase your carbs on training days after your workouts, and maybe just go a little bit lighter on your carbs on off days. I think your body after a hard workout and a compounds exercises, your squats, your deadlifts, your leg days, especially your back days, your chest days. I think when you're having your really hard workouts, I think that's when you might need a lot more carbs after your workout to recover. And I think a 30-minute arm workout or a little bit of work on abs, are you going to need to put that sort of volume back in your body? No. And I think that's where, again, I've learned that over the time, and I read it as gospel of I need to have that many proteins, that many carbs every day of the week, 7 days a week. And it really doesn't need to be. And that's where trial and error comes in, really. I think that's where on your hard workout days, you've got to realize what your body's gone through, what you put it through, and make sure you put that back into your body with your food intake. Make sure you get your protein and your carbs in your body after those hard workouts. And if you have an off day, you have a rest day, or you have a lighter workout, then maybe just reduce the amount you're going in terms of the carbs you're putting in. And just while we're on carbs, I would say brown rice, sweet potatoes, probably the two of my favourites. How about you, Matt? What are you on carbs?
Oh yeah, I'm exactly the same. I'll try and load my diet with sweet potatoes as the staple carbohydrate.
Yeah.
In terms of other things, yeah, rice I'll put in every now and again. I just like potatoes. For me, they're great. Again, rice is easy. People say I need to mess around with rice and it's hard to cook. Listen, you can go and grab Uncle Ben's packet stuff.
Microwave pack. That's what I live on.
Mate, 2 minutes in the mic. Okay, you got to be careful of the salt that's in there, but unless you're stepping on stage in 3 weeks' time, you can have them. So we live in a world where convenience is key, whether you like it or not. We're all busier than we've ever been. So you don't want to be spending 20 minutes trying to boil rice and cool it and everything just to make sure it's right and puffy and light like they have in the restaurants.
Exactly. And I think that's where I think I'd much rather get a microwave pack of rice for convenience, to make sure that I've at least got that part of my diet in reasonable order, than saying, oh, I haven't really got time for that, and end up snacking on something that's 100 times worse. And I think we've all been there, in terms of we all have different jobs. Some of us work in the office, we all have different environments where we eat our lunches and sort of eat during the day. And I think most places these days, there's a microwave facility there, and if you're taking lunch in and you want to eat reasonably well, then bringing a pack of rice is so easy. You can just chuck it in your bag. It's 2 minutes. It's on your plate. It goes with the proteins and the sources of proteins that you're eating. It's nice and easy. There's different flavors there. Like you said, you stick to the balsamic brown. You keep your salt intake down. There are a few others that are nice flavors, but again, you just got to look at what's in those and just be careful with it, really.
Yeah, totally agree. And another thing I teach my clients to do a lot on nutrition is just read packets. I can't see a packet of anything around me at the moment. I'm just actually in my mom's office at the moment because she's got a cafe on the back of the gym that I work out of. So I've just hijacked her office, but there's no food label. She works in it. She owns a cafe and there's no food labels.
Yeah.
But yeah, people know what a food label looks like. I'd read the back of the pack. And just on that note, quickly, if you didn't know, in terms of the ingredient that's listed first is what's there's more of that than any other ingredient, basically. So it's the list of most content through the ingredients. Okay, so most of them you'll see if you go and read an ingredient on a processed food, it'll probably start with the main ingredient. So it'll be like your meat in there. Let's take a shepherd's pie, for example. If you go and look at a microwave shepherd's pie, there'll be meat as the first one, or mince meat. Funnily enough, I looked at one the other day. I won't name the brand, but in a shepherd's pie, it said mincemeat 15%. Now, I don't know about you, but I won't go near a shepherd's pie that's only got 15% meat in it. Okay, for me, it's got to be at least 80%.
And what's in the rest of it? And you just don't want it, do you? You just
Mate,
don't.
I couldn't pronounce half the words that were in there. But do you know what I counted? I counted the commas in between each ingredient. So when it said meat, comma, and then salt as the next one, I was like, right, let's count the commas and see how many ingredients are in a shepherd's pie. Just on this note, have you ever made a shepherd's pie? And if you have a stab at how many ingredients you'd put into a shepherd's pie, Andy.
I would probably say 5.
Exactly. So you've probably got your mince, your potato, maybe 2 different varieties of vegetables, and maybe the gravy, and maybe some seasoning like salt and pepper. So 7.
Yeah.
No word of a lie. This one has 72.
Wow.
72 different ingredients. 15% of it was meat, and people can go online and it's the ready meal from a well-known company that helps people watch their weight. Okay, that's all I'm saying on that one. And it was one of their ready meals. Okay, so shepherd's pie. Anyway, back to nutrition, back to carbohydrates and protein. We've kind of covered carbohydrates and protein, I think. Do you agree we've covered carbs and protein?
Yeah, and I think it's the key point we're saying here is use the rule of thumb, that you've pointed out there in terms of your body weight and obviously training into your goals. But it's a bit of trial and error. Look at how your body adapts to it. Look at your days on training, days off training. But yeah, following what you're saying, I think you can't go too far wrong. And I think if most people can take this as advice, then they're not going to go too far wrong. And then it's just having an understanding of, are they trying to drop weight? Are they trying to stay at the same weight, or are they trying to increase their weight? And then just training to those goals and getting an understanding. And there's some great apps out there now. Some great mobile apps for measuring your food and recording your food. I think gone are the days where we're writing it on bits of paper. We've got old school bits of paper guys, and I still see them in the gym. I think it's great. It's great. But I think when it comes to convenience and the way the world's going now, it's all on your mobiles and your tablets and your laptops. We're never more than a step away from our laptops or our mobiles. So use it. Take advantage of it. Get a free app. Use it. Input your daily intake of food in there. You'll be interested to see what actually you are putting in your body in a given week, because until I started doing that, you didn't really take much notice of it. And I think that's sometimes where chucking that chocolate bar or that pizza down your neck and having to record it, and putting it down on your computer, I've actually just had that amount of sugars I've put in my body, and it's disastrous when you read it, but at the time you just don't look at it like that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, going back to what I do with a lot of my clients, get them to just jot it down, even if it's for just 3 days. Either write it down on pen and paper, or one of those apps. On that note, by the way, what we will be doing is posting up a resource part on our website where people can go and there'll be resources like the apps that you can download and different websites that you can go to with getting more information on this. So if people want to go over to www.affluentrebel.com, there will be some resources kicking around on there. Okay, so writing it down really does make it clear with what you're actually doing. A lot of my clients, then they say, oh my God, I didn't realize I was having mostly carbohydrates with my meals. And I didn't realize how many snacks that were kind of creeping in, and when they finished their dinner and I was kind of having the chips that they didn't finish on their plate and stuff, but having to write it down, stop them doing it. And they get really, really quick results just from being aware of what they're doing, because as the saying goes, awareness precedes change. Most people aren't even aware of what they're doing. So if I just walked up to somebody in the street and stopped them and said, right, recite for me what you did 3 weeks ago on this one particular day, people will be like, I can't remember. No. Because we live in this zombie nation at the moment, where we just kind of get up, we go to work, we go to the gym, and we come home, and we get up and we do this thing. We don't really become aware of what we do. So definitely writing down, journaling what we're doing on a daily basis, even for a couple of days, will really, really help people. So what we're going to get on to now is fats is the next one. So we've done protein, we've done carbohydrate. We haven't really touched on fats. It's one of those nutrients that
It gets a
There's a lot
bad
of,
name, doesn't it?
yeah, it does get a bad name. It's got a lot of misconception about it. And there's a lot of myths around it, and it does get a bad name because logically,
Fat, yeah, fat
yeah,
equals. But you, the first thought I have, the first thought you have, and all your clients have, what do you constitute as a fat? Is you relate it to being fat, and I
that's
think,
exactly it. Yeah, logic says if I eat fat, I'm going to get fat.
yeah, and it really is.
But no, that's it. It's not. It's not true for the most part. Okay, in terms of weight gain, calories in versus calories out, that stays true. That is science. That is fact. That is, it is what it is. If you have more calories going in than you got going out, then you're gonna be putting on weight, whether you like it or not, wherever those calories come from. A few people might disagree with that, but it is true. Okay, but for the most part, fat isn't solely responsible for putting on fat. So there's a lot of in fact, I read about a tribe that is in, I think it's New Zealand, where 85% of their diet is saturated fat. So the bad fat that people really want to stay away from, the
Yeah,
government and the media have told you to stay away from. 85% of their diet is saturated fat, yet they have the lowest incidence of heart disease in the world.
and that goes against everything you would expect.
That's exactly it. That goes against what the cereals companies are telling you.
Yeah,
That goes against what the diet companies are telling you. By the way, we're not a cereal company. We're not tied to them. We're not a diet company, and we're not tied to them whatsoever. So, if I don't know if you remember, but in the 70s, before cereal really started to hit the mainstream, and before cereal people started to eat it, we were on average a stone lighter than we are now on average, and that was before cereal came in. And what does cereal say? Cereal companies say, "Oh, best way to start your day. You've got to have cereals to start your day.
yeah.
Low sugar, low fat." It's all these misconceptions and myths. So on fat, I just want to get across to people that it's not something that you should be scared of.
No,
It's not something that you should avoid completely.
it needs to be in your diet. It's just get an understanding of what you need in there, and just don't be put off that something has fat in it, because I've been there. You read the labels, you piss off the bloke behind you in the supermarket, you see the volume of fat in there, and you chuck it back. But above there is your volume of something else that's worse. Uh, it might be the salt intake. Like you go back to your ready meals and things like that. And people sort of don't quite have an understanding of how bad high volumes of salt can be on those ready meals. Those top end supermarkets, their ready meals might taste nicer than some of the cheaper ones, but they're piled with salt. And that in itself isn't great for your diet and great for your body at all.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. It's something that we kind of really don't need too much of. But again, that's kind of micronutrients. I don't want to get into that too much today. I want to stay around the protein, fats, and carbs, and maybe fiber. We might touch on that a bit. But yeah, definitely good points that you're raising there with those ready meals, and it's interesting, like reading them. And I think people should go away from here, go to a shop, and just spend 10 minutes just reading some ingredients.
Yeah.
And if you really want to be anal about it, you can just get Google out, pick an ingredient on the packet, Google what it is, and you probably won't want to put it in your body after you do.
And that's where I think for most of us, those pre-packet meals, we've got no control of what's in there. What's in that product is set in that product, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I think that's where, if we can veer away from that as much as we can and go into cooking, preparing meals, putting in those meals what we want, controlling that, I think you keep a lot of the bad sort of habits that I think we've got into, and I think that's where the nation has improved. I think that is one thing. Maybe the weight of the general British nation, let's say, isn't massively better than what it was, but I certainly see a lot less of the ready meal type people around. I think if you go back 10 years, that the nation was just full of ready meals. It was ready meal this, ready meal that. 4 nights a week, convenience food, convenience food. And I think it really did, it really did have a bad impact on most people in general. And I think that's where there is a slight improvement. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I think people over the last, at least the last 12 months to 18 months, have becoming a lot more aware with what food's going into their body, where it comes from, how it's produced, what people do to it. So yeah, I definitely agree that it's better. And of course, you've got people that are. So I've got the phone going off in the office. The good thing is you've got people that are really pushing it in the media. So people like Jamie Oliver on TV with what he's doing. He's really pushing the fork with healthy meals and things like that. So yeah, it's about being aware of what's going into your body, where it's coming from, and what it does to you as well. Which again, we might be able to touch on in another video, just not with this one today. So yeah. Going back to the fats, people are probably saying, "Oh, what are the numbers with the fats? Where should I be going in terms of grams per kilo of body weight?" And again, I'm going to jump in here if you don't mind with the
enlighten us. Come on, Matt, enlighten us. How many?
I'm gonna say that people, if you can get around 0.2, 0.3 grams of fat per kilo of body weight, start there. See what's going on. And you might think, oh God, there's more calculations, but it really is. It's super simple to just work it out. Okay, just get a calculator, put your body weight in, divide it or times it by these numbers that I'm saying. Okay, you'll come out with a number. Then all you basically do is you just eat the food that is in relation to that number. Okay, so if I said 30 grams of protein, you go and say, right, okay, what's got 30 grams of protein in it? Listen, we've got the internet at our fingertips. By saying, oh, I don't know what's got 30 grams of protein in it, it's you're kind of being like that kid at school that says, oh, my dog ate my homework, you know? Yeah. So listen, just Google 30 grams of protein foods. A list will come up. Chicken breast, 30 grams of protein. So if you know you've got to get 80 or let's say 90 grams of protein in, boom, there. In theory, 3 chicken breasts. But if you don't want to eat 3 chicken breasts a day, you can have 1 lunch, 1 dinner, and a protein shake. Boom, there's 90 grams of protein. You can have your eggs for breakfast. You can snack on nuts and seeds in the day. So it all kind of adds up. And this is where those apps are really, really great for tracking those macros, those numbers, those nutrients. So yeah, people should have now an understanding of the numbers that they need to be hitting to start with, so that they can track for now 3 or 4 weeks, and then they can take it from there. But what I'd say is what you said at the start, Andy, is you should be eating in line with your goals. Okay, so if you just want to maintain where you're at right now, eat like the person who wants to maintain. But if you're thinking, okay, you might be coming into the winter, I want to put on a little bit of size, you can play around with those numbers. You can have maybe 20% more. Okay, don't go 60% more than what you usually do, because it's just too much for your body to deal with. Go 20% more each week, see what happens, and then add it up again the next week. Go again, add another 20%, see where you go. But if you want to strip down, let's say people in Southern Hemisphere, depending on what time they're watching this video, time of year, they could say, okay, I'm coming into summer. So just look at what you would be having if you were maintaining your weight, and then go, right, let's drop the numbers down a little bit. Let's just have a little bit less carbohydrates. See what happens then for the first 3 or 4 weeks. At the end of the day, like, I want to get away from people going on these crash diets. Like, oh, let's see what I can do in 7 days. Let's see what I can do in 9 days. All these detoxes and all this. I'm not here to put any of those down today, so I'm not going to. But my belief is we're here on this planet for a lot longer than 9 days.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to be doing something for 9 days, and then let's say that might work for 9 days, go back to doing the normal thing, and then only relying on that 9-day thing. Because then if that company goes bump and gets found out that what they're doing isn't right, then you're like, oh no, what else do I do? I've got to try and pick another.
On to the next one. On to the next.
Yeah, on to the next one. That's it. What's the next shiny object and stuff? And where does that get people? I did a video the other day on my Facebook, which is facebook.com/MattSmith2310. Did that on there the other day, saying that people that go on a diet are. I've lost Andy for a minute, so oh no, he's back.
He's back.
People that go on a diet, there was a study, I can't remember the numbers, but it's something like after 2 years, 55% of those people are heavier than when they started their diet. Yeah. So if I said to you, Andy, right, we're going to put you on this new amazing diet, okay, that's going to help you lose a clothes size in a week, and you'll be at your ideal body shape in a month. But in 2 years' time, you're actually going to be heavier and feel more lethargic and have less energy than you have now. Would you do it?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, exactly. Common sense says I wouldn't do it. So why are people putting themselves through it? And I was on a call with a guy called Tim Drummond the other day, who's a celebrity personal trainer down in London. Really, really great guy. And he was basically saying, like, you want to invest in yourself more than you'd invest in anything else. Okay, so instead of investing in like your business or your relationships or even your food or even what you do in terms of like savings and things like that. Invest in yourself more, which means doing the groundwork now, putting the foundations down. And then that means that if all these diet and detox companies go bump, you've still got the foundations that work that you can revert to every single time.
And you go back 20, 30 years, and there was still some people in great shape back then. And where were those juice companies then? Where were they?
Yeah,
They
they
weren't there. And I think
no, that's it.
that's where, society, that's where clever marketers would try and make you believe that they've unraveled something that's brand new, and that you need to buy into this because this is going to be the way that you're going to create this body that's like the guy on the front, the guy on the front of that website, or the front of that packet, and that's just not the way. That's just not the way to go, because as you said, you do a 9-day diet. Where are you in a month's time? Probably worse than you were before you started. And it's not dissing, there are some benefits. At least when people are taking on these things, they've got an urge to improve their body. And I think you can't knock anyone for that, and I think that's one thing where in the fitness industry, at least people are trying to better themselves. But it's the lazy types, isn't it, Matt? It's the ones that we really want to try and push into. It's a lifestyle choice here, rather than the quick fix. We all want the quick fix, we've all wanted that quick fix. But when it comes to your body, when it comes to the shape of your body, it is a long process, and it's a lifestyle change. And as it is with running a business, you don't decide to run a business and expect in 7 days to be earning what might take 7 years, and it's exactly the same here. It's exactly the same. I'm just trying to get people to have that understanding of, you can see some differences in a 7-day juice diet, but long term, you've got to change. You've got, the shape that you've got yourself into is through the exercise that you've done. You are what you are. You are what you eat, and if you've not done exercise and you've eaten badly and you've got into that shape, 7 days to reduce some of the water weight and make you look slightly better. You might feel better, but after 7 days, it'll start to drop back off again. And you can't maintain those sorts of diets. I've seen them and I've done them. And no food for 4 or 5 days. I mean, it's just, I'd never want anyone to have to go through that. Really wouldn't.
Yeah, and I totally agree, and I see it all the time. Again, a lot with my clients is, I've tried this, that, and that diet, and every other diet. I'm like, well, if they'd have worked, then you wouldn't be sat across from me in tears that your body's messed up from all these diets that you've been on. So if we've got younger guys or younger girls that are on this, listen, I deal with a lot of middle-aged women, middle-aged guys that get to that age after 19, 20, then they start driving, they go off to university, and they're going out partying, and then their habit is like, all go and stop, go and stop, go and stop. So then they go on their diets because they're putting on a little bit of weight. Maybe they got into a relationship, they've got comfy, they've got married, they might have had kids, and then they put work first and everything else first. They forget about themselves, and then this diet pops up, so they try that, this, that, and the other, and yes, they get quick results, but long term. And I get that. I get those people sat across from me in tears saying, Matt, I screwed up my metabolism, screwed up my body, I've tried every other diet, I just want to be fixed. Now, although it's great for business, if that keeps happening for me, I don't want it to happen to me, I want people that are coming to me saying, Matt, I've had a great healthy lifestyle all of my life, now I want to put the cherry on the top so I can feel the best that I've ever felt. And that's where I want to jump in and get a bit of the younger generation as well, and say, right, listen, if you're 18 to 30 and you haven't really experienced diets yet because you probably haven't needed to, I would say just listen, just block out any of that and go down the route that myself and Andy were speaking down today. Lifestyle. Lifestyle is the big word there. Consistency. We spoke about it at the start with this graph that I showed people, that everyone's sat right here now. Okay, in 3 months' time, you can either be starting on your journey to being in the best shape of your life. You'll either stay the same or you'll be getting a little bit worse. Okay, this is with diets, the path goes like this. With diets, the path goes like this, like that. See that little scribble that I've done all the way through there? Boom. Yeah. They start on the diet, they start to get results, and then bam, they get off their diet because they've starved themselves, they've restricted themselves. They can't go out with friends and enjoy a meal out with their friends. Yeah. They've had to train every single day. Their sleep has gone terrible. So then they go, oh, I need the break from this. And then they're, oh no, I need another diet. So they'll start going, and then they'll get a break. And then eventually it's down here, and they're at the low of the low, and that's when they come in to see me.
No consistency, as we said.
No
No
consistency.
consistency, and that's where I think a lot of people pre-holiday is exactly the same, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
that I'm going to join a gym a month before I go on holiday, and they see some slight improvements. They feel a bit better when they go on holiday, when they're on the beach, and then they come back, and you don't see them. 2 months later, they haven't come back, and
yeah.
they saw some results before they went on holiday, but they haven't chosen to carry that on as a lifestyle change. It was a crash in before the holiday, make myself feel better, and then they don't carry it on, and it's such a shame that people don't sort of see those results and want to keep pushing forwards with them. And it's almost like I'll do it before the last possible opportunity that I can to get the best shape I can be 4 weeks before. And we've all been there as well. We've seen guys that do that, and I've seen women that do that. They join the gym, they want to get fit, and they just don't give themselves enough time. And they're promising, oh, I'll do it 7 days a week. And then you see on Facebook every Friday and Saturday night, they're out partying, they're drinking, they're 3 or 4 days without going. Monday, they probably still feel lethargic, they're probably late for work, they forget their gym kit. Bang, before you know it, that's 4 days they've lost. And 3 or 4 weeks before, they're preaching to us, I'm going to do it, I'm going to change, I'm going to dedicate myself. And it's a killer, isn't it, to see? It's a killer.
Yeah, it is. It is painful, and again, being around gyms for the best part of 15 years, you'll see, like I've seen it. Like you'll see, yeah, just before your summer holidays, you get a new wave of people, or January, February, you'll get a new wave of people come in. 3 months later or 2 months later, you don't see them, and then you'll see again a new load of faces come in just before holidays, and you'll start to also see the people that just continually go. It's a lifestyle. Okay, they understand that that's part of their life. That's them putting them first and respecting themselves first, not because they're trying to look good for somebody else, they're trying to please somebody else, or look good for photos when they're on holiday, or they need to lose weight because they've eaten too much over Christmas. It's just that they understand they put themselves first. It is a lifestyle. It's the people that go, right, I want to be fit and healthy every single day. I want to perform every single day, because at the end of the day, if you take care of yourself first, everything else falls into place. You get the best relationships, you get the best income coming in, because you're in really good shape physically, mentally, emotionally, and everything else that comes with it. And it kind of starts with the foundations of you, understanding who you are, understanding that you are worth more than anything in the world, because without you, nothing else happens. And once you understand and you have that bit of self-love for yourself, I don't want to get all esoterical and woo-woo on this particular call. I might do a bit later.
You love a bit of that.
Yeah, no, I love a bit of that. But it's because I had to do it myself, because I was the kind of guy that did that bit and then kind of stopped, then did a bit and then he stopped. Although I've been around a gym for 15 years almost consistently, there were still bits where I'd work really hard and then I'd take a bit off, and I'd work really hard. And I was like, what's going on here? And same with my business. I'd push really hard and get loads of clients and bring in loads of money. Then I'd kind of step back a bit and take some more time off. And then same with my relationship. It'd be on fire one time and then we'd be arguing the next. And then what I had to do is I had to go on this self-discovery of like, why is this actually happening? It all comes down to valuing yourself more than anything in the world. And when you start to value yourself, put yourself first, then everything else comes off the back of it. But I know this call is all about nutrition. So it's about getting your numbers right to start with. Track your numbers to start with. Understand that food's either going to work for you, it's going to work against you. Okay, keep the stuff that works for you. I know it's common sense, but you need to hear it, because if you knew that, then why aren't you in great shape? So it's about, yeah, that's exactly it. So track your numbers, see how you get on for 3 or 4 weeks, have consistently, like Andy rightly said at the very start of our call, and then after 4 weeks, then you can adjust if you're not seeing the results that you want to adjust, you want to see. Okay, so I think that kind of ties up everything that we've got for nutrition. Obviously, it's a massive subject. We could probably talk for a week on nutrition alone, once you're breaking down all different types of foods and what they give you. And fiber is another nutrient that we didn't really go into today, but just to kind of quickly jump over that one, I'd say 10 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories going in. So if you've got 2,000 calories going in, get around 20 grams of fiber. Okay, you get your five a day with fruit and veg, you'll get it. I'm not going to start talking about how fruit's good for you, and people say, oh no, fruit's got sugar in, it's bad for you. Listen, I've never seen a fat gorilla in my life. So do you know what I mean? And the fact, and on that note, by the way, with people saying, oh, you need 3 grams of protein a day, go and look at a cow. You know, they are solid meat and they just eat grass. So On that note, yeah, Andy, have you got anything else that you'd like to add in terms of protein? Sorry, in terms of nutrition.
I think in terms of the overall, I think we go back to consistency. I think that's something that I wanted people to pull away from this is try and be as consistent as you can. At the same time, try and get a bit of an understanding of of this. Try and keep some of this in your mind, write it down. Research a bit yourself and get an understanding of what you need to do. And also have a trial of different foods because I think there's certain foods that we don't all digest very well. And I think that's something I struggle with some of the milk, and I go into soya milks now, and they're great. I just feel like my stomach digests them a lot better. And I don't know about you, but I have days where I feel more bloated than others, and it is all about what's going in your body, and it's things like bread as well. My body doesn't do well with bread, and I've tried to avoid it. And I think we recommend most people try and probably avoid bread in most forms anyway, in terms of what's there. But some people digest it great. I know you've had a bit of you had the protein bread, I think, Matt, didn't we? We saw.
Yeah, yeah, the protein bread from
Yeah,
myprotein.com. Other protein
yeah,
breads I think are available,
yeah.
but yeah,
And exactly. So I think it's that there's consistency, and there's also take a bit of trial and error as to what how your body reacts because no one is going to be the same here, and I think we've got to all try and change up a few things and see what happens. And I think it's just as simple as that. Let's not complicate it too much. I think that's where most people go wrong is when they start to get those nutritional plans and they get those 6 meals a day and the exact weight of everything that they're eating, and they get put off, don't they? They get put off. They can't keep it. They can't sustain it. I think you just start small, just try it, like you say, try it 3 or 4 days of writing down everything, weighing everything out, get an understanding of where your diet is now, and really go from there. I think sometimes I've been guilty of it. We're probably both our personalities a bit intense. We like to do everything at 110% all the time, and you want to be at the top straight away, don't you? And sometimes I think just try and do a bit, just get an understanding of it, and just dip your toe in the water here, and let's not go to the professional top extreme level too quick. Let's do something rather than nothing, I think would be the way I'd look at it.
yeah, mate, I totally agree. And I think, yeah, I don't want to overwhelm people. So yeah, consistency, tracking, and understanding that everyone's different. So not one size fits all. So Googling best diet plan or best workout plan, you're kind of wasting time because what works for me will be different to what works for Andy, and what works for Andy will be different to me, and what works for both of us will be different to you who's watching, and what's different for the bodybuilders on stage or the fitness models, again, will all be completely different. So do what works for you, keep track of it, and keep us updated as well with what's going on, and let us know what's going on. You can do that over on our Instagram or our Twitter or on our Facebook page. If you just search Affluent Rebel on any of those, you'll be able to find us.
And we're getting a great following on those already. Some great sort of responses already. The Instagrams, it's booming at the moment. As is the Twitter as well. We've got a few quite well-known people already sort of relating back to some of the content on there, which is great. For us, it's people that are right at the top of the game, and they're noticing already what we're doing. So I think it's certainly something that for us is going to push us on more.
Oh yeah, definitely. If we've got people that we respect watching us, we're going to be at the top of our game. So anybody else watching this will really benefit with what's going on. So yeah, search for Affluent Rebel, you'll find us, and you'll see a bit more about what we're about. But for today, I think that's it. So from me, thank you very much for watching and being a part of this. It's been a pleasure sharing it. So thank you very much for your time.
Any questions, we're here to answer them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thank you very much for watching, guys and girls.